2015 Maxxis FIM Enduro World Championship moves on to Greece for the fourth round of the campaign and the sixth staging of the Grand Prix of Greece in the northern border region of Ceres. Its ancient city thrives on the side of rich agricultural land, the base of the many local motorsport fans. Home riders unlikely to challenge the elite of the series, but knowledgeable Greek Enduro supporters nonetheless look for their heroes among the top performers from the opening rounds. 76 competitors faced unique conditions for the Super Test in Greece, with a 15-minute rain shower, the precursor to an otherwise sweltering afternoon's competition. Loic Larieux survived the heat and pressure from fellow countryman Antoine Mayo by less than half a second to take the fastest overall time and the lead in E2. Marc Bourgeois took the fastest time and the 9-second victory bonus in E1 ahead of Lorenzo Santolino, and Jonathan Barragan went fastest in E3. The biggest story of the day was the retirement of Matthew Phillips, whose machine failure left him starting the first full day of competition with a 40-second time penalty.
We're going to try and win the first test, and we're going to try and win the last test, and that's all we can do. And it's important to finish the race in the best position as possible for the championship. And we'll see. It's going to be an interesting day.
A total of 4 laps on stage 1 plus the previous day's Super Test would determine the point scoring over the 40-kilometre course. 7th in the championship coming into Greece, Simone Albogoni put in a second top 5 performance of the season after recovering from an early 8th position in the second half of the day. Lorenzo Santolino gradually dropped back from the podium pace after a strong start to the opening lap to finish in 4th. Marc Bourgeois made a return to form in Greece after 2 poor performances in Portugal, returning to the podium for a second time in 2015. Christophe Nambatar hadn't been out of the top 2 all season coming into Greece, but got as close as possible to losing out on that run. An identical time to Marc Bourgeois, the first time a position has been decided by less than 1/100th of a second in the World Championship. Hiro Remes took his 3rd win of the 2015 season with a dominant performance, taking fastest times in 9 of the 13 tests. Danny McCanny slipped to his worst performance of the year in 7th, while Anthony Boissier made a successful comeback from injury in 6th. Jaume Petriu held 4th position throughout the opening 2 laps, but was eventually overhauled and had to settle for 5th in E2. Loic Larieux put in his best performance of the season, with the advantage of a first position result in the Super Test and particularly impressive times on the Extreme Test for 4th. Alex Salvini finished just 20 seconds short of a second victory in 2015 and ended the day with the fastest time on the final cross test. Antoine Mayo was defeated for only the 2nd time all season, and by just 13 seconds after he took the fastest times in 4 of the closing 6 specials. Pierre-Alexandre Renet took his first victory of 2015 after opening an early gap to his rivals. Yet to finish off the podium this year, the defending E2 champion was fastest in 5 of the first 6 tests.
The first lap I rode really good, and I take a gap. I make small mistake in the last lap, but so I get the win, so I'm really happy.
3 different manufacturers in the top 4 positions, but a familiar feel to the standings with 3 Frenchmen in the top 4 places. Thomas Oldrati took his second consecutive top 5 finish, saving his best to the final lap to move up from 7th to 5th. Luis Correa took 4th, matching his best performance of the season, as he missed out on the podium by less than 2 seconds. Following his day 1 penalty, Matthew Phillips had to put in a stunning ride to make the podium. The Australian fastest in 7 of the tests to overhaul Luis Correa in the very last of the extreme tests for 3rd. Igor Leok took 2nd. The Estonian, fastest as ever through the cross tests, backed up those results with strong times elsewhere in the lap. Matteo Bellino wasn't fastest through any of the tests, but took his 4th win of the season through sheer consistency. Jonathan Barragan was back in the points after missing out in Portugal. Meanwhile, Matti Sestala's missed 6th position could prove costly for him. Two minutes back from the eventual winner, Cristobal Guerrero was involved in his own battle for another top 5 finish in E1. Lorenzo Santolino held his own 4-second margin over Guerrero, almost losing 4th place to his fellow countryman after a fall in the final cross test cost him a 20-second buffer. 3rd place was taken by Danny McCanny, the British rider holding on despite ceding ground on lap 4. Christophe Nambertin rode fastest through 5 of the stage's 12 tests, but a series of errors around the second lap cost him victory. He finished 34 seconds back on a day when he had to accept second best. Eero Remes made it 2 wins in 3 with 7 fastest times and narrowed the championship deficit to just 4. A double win for the Finn. With 4 different nationalities in the top 4 positions, Eero Remes makes it 2 from 2 with Marc Bourgeois subdued in 9th. The championship race seems to have split in 2 for the E1 category. 2 riders separated by 4 points up front and a separate battle for 3rd.
Yeah, now it looks quite good. Like whole weekend was so good for me, and also riding very well both days. And today I make two or three small mistakes, but I don't lose not so much time there, so it's good.
After a slow start to stage 2, Jaume Bentriu slotted back into 5th place for the 5th time this season. Loic Larieux put in a repeat of his stage 1 performance to match his best result of the season in 4th. The top 3 in Enduro 2 have formed a breakaway from the pack in every event this year, and often it's been Salvini looking in from close proximity to the 2 French challengers in front. Antoine Mayo was fastest in each of the lap 1 tests and 4 of the last 5, but lost his way on the second lap and failed to close the gap in time, finishing just over 2 seconds in arrears. Less than 14 seconds separated 1st from 3rd after 2 laps on stage 2, but Pierre-Alexandre René held on to his advantage on the midway stage to win the E2 category. Nicolo Mori enjoyed his best result of the season in 6th, while Oriol Mena suffered his worst of the campaign. Meanwhile, Pierre-Alexandre René has the momentum on his side, closed 6 points in Greece, and now sits only 13 in arrears. Luis Correa recorded a 4th consecutive double-figure score, overhauling Manuel Moni for 6th when the Italian hit problems on lap 2. Thomas Oldrati had a particularly strong last lap and was fastest through the final Enduro test, but still finished 7 seconds short of the podium. Matthew Phillips never found the rhythm on stage 2. The Australian struggles through the extreme test left him playing catch-up for much of the afternoon. Agar Leok finished runner-up after he dropped time through each of the enduro tests. The Estonian assuming his traditional position, fastest through 2 of the day's 4 cross tests. But Mattia Bellino enjoyed his second double win of the season, backing up his Spanish spree with Greek glory. The Frenchman fastest through 6 of the first 7 specials, a master lead which he never looked like surrendering. A subdued 8th position for Matti Sestala, not to mention his injury worries may have ended his championship challenge in the super competitive E3 class. Meanwhile, Matthew Phillips drops 10 points further back in his quest to retain the title as E3 develops into a 2-horse race. 3 double winners and 2 championship deficits closed as the title race heads to Italy with just 3 rounds remaining.